Good morning. I wanted to share a devotional thought with you for this week, pre-week, I guess, of our class. And I think I'm going to center our devotions from the book of Proverbs over our term together. I'll post one of these each week, and they're just for your own personal edification. You can listen to them and use them as you like. I'm going to read to you from Proverbs chapter 8, verses 1 through 12, from the NIV version. Wisdom's call. Does not wisdom call out? Does not understanding raise her voice? At the highest point along the way, where the path meets, she takes her stand. Beside the gate leading into the city, at the entrance she cries aloud. To you, O people, I call out. I raise my voice to all mankind. You who are simple, gain prudence. You who are foolish, set your heart on it. Listen, for I have trustworthy things to say. I open my lips to speak what is right. My mouth speaks what is true, for my lips detest wickedness. All the words of my mouth are just. None of them is crooked or perverse. To the discerning, all of them are right. They are upright to those who have found knowledge. Choose my instruction instead of silver, knowledge rather than choice gold. For wisdom is more precious than rubies, and nothing you desire can compare with her. I, wisdom, dwell together with prudence. I possess knowledge and discretion. We are people who want things, not always tangible things, but even ideas or happenings, circumstances, or events. My meditation question for you this morning is, what do you desire in your lives? You're all in the midst of being very busy people right now. You have school and work and families and life coming at you. I want to give you a minute, or I want to take a minute to just think with you and maybe center yourself on your day if it's morning, or to give you something to think about if it's actually evening time. Why is wisdom more desirable than rubies or jewels? Some versions say jewels. Well, a ruby is a jewel that primarily the mineral aluminum oxide. It's pinkish to blood red in color. The color comes from the element chromium. Those of you who remember your high school chemistry, if that's as far as you got in your chemistry or your sciences, I don't know where you're at on that one. Rubor is the Latin for the color red, and where the word comes from, ruby. The monetary value in rubies come from their deep red color. So from what I understand, the deeper the red, the more valuable. Pricing for a poor half carat ruby goes for about $5. So not really valuable, but a 5 carat exceptional quality ruby, according from the region of Mogok, Burma, can bring upwards of $225,000 or more. Seems to me to be pretty valuable stone. I mean, that's a hefty price for a little piece of mineral. I don't know what you make a year, but for me, that's a lot of money. The median household income just released in December, according to the Department of Numbers in 2013, the U.S. government says that the median household income is about $52,250. So the Bogmat Burma ruby is equal to about 4 years' salary for most people, or maybe, or for most households, I should say. So fairly valuable. Why is wisdom more desirable than a ruby? I think it's a fair question, right? Rubies have short-term value. Wisdom always takes a long-term perspective. Even in the above examples of a ruby being 4 years' salary, if someone works 40 years, this is only about 10% of total income that they'll earn. So Proverbs 1:20 through 23 gives us some idea of the long-term value of this ruby. Rubies really narrow the vision to the stone. It really focuses us on just looking at the stone. And wisdom actually opens our vision to possibilities. I think we have to think about, and for us as leaders, sometimes we get really narrow. And in your dissertation process, you're going to be narrow. And the real challenge here is, as you become an expert in an area, which is fantastic, how do you stay open and wise about your learning? The third thing I've thought about is that the ruby sparkles in self-aggrandized beauty. Wisdom listens and discerns in wonder. The ruby's beauty comes from itself. And while leaders, the beauty of a leader is that they have self-understanding, effective leaders, effective servant leaders go beyond self and they work to serve others. The ruby sits and serves just itself in its own beauty. I've worked with Dr. Vern Ludden at Indiana Wesleyan, whom I'm sure you guys have met by now. And Dr. Ludden really comes back and always reminds me of the importance of community in wisdom. It can't just be about ourselves. It can't just be, about us as the leader. Leadership can't just be about what's happening inside of us. And this is why I think one of the reasons that wisdom is more valuable than rubies is the ruby is just about itself, and wisdom goes beyond that. In Luke chapter 11, verses 27 through 32, Jesus had taught on prayer and drove out a demon who was from a mute person. The picture of a crowd building to a frenzy in this story, and the emotion is palpable, so palpable you can feel it. Have you ever just been a part of a crowd that wanted to shout out? I did a few weekends ago. The Indianapolis Colts went into Denver. I'm a big Colts fan. A very tough place to win a football game. A place where 13 weeks ago the Colts had really kind of been crushed or embarrassed by Peyton Manning and the Denver Broncos. And on Sunday when I was watching, I was so excited because the Colts were winning in Denver, and I just wanted to shout out. There's this fevered pitch in the crowd, same fevered pitch as Jesus is saying these things. A woman in the crowd calls out, "Blessed is the mother who gave birth to you and nursed you." And I don't want to spend too much time here. The emotion is electric, and the woman is feeling so much joy. She goes back to the thing that gave her the most life in her own joy, and she shouts out this deep joy that she has. Psychologists call this positive projection, or a feeling of love and joy toward someone that arises from a natural extension of feeling good about yourself. And he turns around to her in the midst of all of this and replies to her, "Blessed rather are those who hear the word of God and obey it." See, hearing the word of God brings us full circle to the reading this morning. Some have called Proverbs chapter 8 prophetic. I'm not sure I want to get into that debate this morning with a group of scholars like yourself. Prophetic in the sense that is David or Solomon in the writing of these Proverbs, is he really prophesying the crucifixion of Jesus and giving us some thoughts there? Does not wisdom call out is Proverbs 8:1. Jesus calls out to us from the cross. Does not understanding raise her voice? At the highest point along the way is verse 2. Where the paths meet, she takes her stand. And it is not wisdom, as we think about Jesus being the personification of wisdom, and his crucifixion at Golgotha, which was a hill where his cross was mounted on top, paths from the road came together right outside the city of Jerusalem. So as Jesus is being crucified, where these paths come together, is is Proverbs chapter 8 a prophetic enunciation of the crucifixion of Jesus, and is not Jesus actually wisdom? In Dr. Ludden's model for wisdom, spirituality or spiritual formation becomes a very important component. And so as we think about developing ourselves as leaders, my challenge is that we don't leave out this spiritual development. Rubies are great. Rubies are fine. Minerals made by God. However, as leaders, it has to be more about than about ourselves. And as we learn to project to our community, this idea of spiritual formation and spiritual development is key to you in the development of your own leadership, as well as the those that you will invest in as you become scholars and develop others in leadership. So I leave you with that this morning. This thought this morning. We'll come back to Proverbs chapter 8 again next week. Take care, and I hope you're well.